Welcome one and all to your Rangers News Pod for the week. My name is Billy Rankin, and if you're a Rangers supporter, this week has been a microcosm of what it's like to support us. There's ups, there's downs, there's signings, there's controversies, there's managers throwing players under buses. It's everything you can hope for as a Rangers fan. Welcome, Cammy. Good to be on with you again, mate. Not been on with you since last season, and it was fantastic to meet you in person the other night there. How are you today?
I'm good. As you say, I think it's been one of those Rangers weeks where you've started the week on a downer, and obviously had a positive performance result, and getting to meet yourself before the game on Wednesday night. But yeah, a bit more positive. Things appear to be moving in the right direction, but we just have to keep winning and building from it tomorrow.
And Bob, welcome, mate. I kind of egged you on to come on the show last week. I don't know if you heard me, but you've taken me up on my offer on your back. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I was suffering from a bad cold last week, so my throat wasn't the best. So I thought I'd be a bit more used this week on the news pod.
Good stuff, mate. And welcome, last but not least, Jack. How are you today, mate?
Very good, very good. Just like Cammy said, typical Rangers week. You're down and you're up and all over the place.
Well, we'll go through it. I guess me and Cammy were talking just before you two appeared about, is there really a lot to talk about this week in the news-wise? And I think that there probably is, actually, but feel free to drop in anything that we miss. Cammy, I'll start with you. We made a signing this week, so I'm going to start with that because not only did it have an immediate impact, it was also quite an exciting signing. So that's Oliver Ant-Man. Just looking at his highlight reels and looking at his stats, he had a great season last season, always involved in the goals, or either himself in scoring or setting them up. What was your feelings when we announced midweek that he had signed?
I think it's a signing. Obviously, Czerny had left, had been a big contributor on that side of the park. So I think it was the number one position that needed to be filled as quickly as possible. So exciting. More of a right winger that goes on the outside, can cut the ball back. Just the assist king, I think he was last season in Eredivisie. So came with a good reputation, managed to get all his IKEA furniture built really, really quickly to allow him to play on Wednesday night, which was good. Traditionally, Rangers players have always taken 7 to 10 days, all that sort of situation. But yeah, he done really, really well, and I think the manager spoke very positively about him post-match. But yeah, very exciting, a very bright debut, but a position, and we now have two wide players that are going to excite you, are going to grab you by the, even in dull, boring SPFL matches, get the ball to the two wide players, Ant-Man and Gassama, and they're going to create, they're going to give you chances, they're going to score goals. So yeah, very positive additions, both of them.
Jack, we'll talk about the midweek game, but just particularly about Ant-Man. Cammy makes a good point there. Czerny was always cutting in, and I found it very predictable, actually, towards the end, that he was going to always just come in. This is different. Ant-Man was going out on the basically being out in the wings and putting balls in from there. What did you make of the signing, though?
Yeah, so it was very, very quick. Of course, it's been rumoured for a while, but we were told deal's done, and then it pretty much was done in the squad. And to see a guy come right in immediately after signing with a breath of fresh air, not needing to go to IKEA and take 3 or 4 weeks to come into the squad. But I mentioned this previously, like having two guys on each wing that are both dangerous. It's been so long since we had that. It's always been one wing's been stronger than the other, and teams have doubled up on it. So getting this guy in, then get to the byline, get his head up, pick a man, exactly what we're needing. I seen, obviously that was his nickname in Holland, the assist king. So if he can provide more balls that he did during the week, I'll be more than delighted with that signing.
Bob, he's not just an assist king. He did get some goals last year. I mean, Czerny obviously chipped in with a few goals for us, so we were needing that replaced on the right wing. As regards what you've seen of him in the opening game, just Ant-Man in particular, are you as kind of pleased with the signing as maybe the rest of us have been?
Yeah, I think I can only really echo what Cammy and Jack said. I think on Tuesday night, the fact he came in straight away, he's up to speed. Didn't seem to take any time to settle. He was driving down the byline from the first minute till he came off. Kind of later on in the second half. I think it's just really positive that we can see on both sides that we both have two wingers in our team, neither of which are a loan signing. I know there's been some mention of that in our chat during the week, but these guys are ours now. We don't have to fall in love with at least a wing loan player. I know that there's been a few folks saying about Giga at centre back, but these two guys look really exciting, really young. Again, we've got them in for a nominal value. Their potential to gain as profit financially is massive, especially in the last few games. I know we look specifically at that man in one game, but he certainly looks if he's repaid the 3 or 4 million that we've laid out for him, and obviously Gassama on the other side through the previous qualifiers. So yeah, really positive and looking forward to seeing what they can bring us this season.
Cammy, will you want to come back in on that?
It was just Bob touched on it there. The fee for the two of them is good business. We are 99% certain of being in the playoff round, and there's obviously guaranteed income from that. So effectively, the guaranteed income from making the playoff round has been paid for. Has effectively paid for the two signings, but I just think it shows. For too long, Rangers our recruitment has been all over the place. There's actually I don't think you can question really any of the signings. I know it is very, very early, but they all look positive and they're all being brought in with a specific purpose. And the way that the manager is wanting us to play, it's not just. I know we will probably touch on square pegs, round holes, and all that sort of stuff from last week. But I think when everybody is available, everybody's playing a certain position is going to have a defined role and the expectation. So you're not signing a player and asking them to do something. Rangers, for as long as I can remember, have just signed players. I'll go back, Alexei Mikhailchenko way back in the 90s. We signed him as a dominant centre midfield player and ended up on the left-hand side of midfield. And there's loads of players like that across the years. So if you sign a right winger, you might be able to play on both sides, but you know why you're signing them. And that's the positive for me. And I think that the players that are linked still to come in, they're going to be coming in with a specific purpose and a role within the team. So hopefully that helps us become a better side and better to watch and all that sort of stuff.
Cammy, I'll stay with you though, because I wanted to ask your opinion on where do you think this leaves the signing of Mikey Moore, because he obviously came here to play as well, and that's the same position, I believe, in right wing.
I think left. What I saw of him, he was more of a left-sided.
Is that
player.
Right?
Yeah, left-sided. So I think the manager said when he was talking about the players that missed out on Wednesday night that we're going to have European football to the end of January. You might find Gassama and Moore. Gassama maybe plays on the Wednesday or the Thursday night, and Mikey Moore plays on the Sunday or Saturday or whatever. We hope it's obviously Saturday and we're in the Champions League, but I think it'll be a bit of rotation. I think he can play as a 10. We've got players that can do, but I think you have to have ideally 2 right wingers, 2 left wingers. I still think we're maybe Oscar Cortez would ideally be backup for both sides, but I think they're obviously trying to build him up slowly. But we've committed a lot of money to Oscar Cortez, so he certainly should be able to provide additional backup. But Mikey Moore, he's going to get games. I think he's going to get far more games and opportunities with Rangers than he would have if he'd stayed at Spurs.
Yeah, Jack, that's a good point that Cammy brings up, Oscar Cortez as well, because we really need him to either play enough that we can sell him on, or play enough that he's actually kind of undroppable in that kind of way, that he's actually impacting the games from week to week. I mean, Ant-Man obviously has done well in that opening game. the gas man's done pretty well in his opening few games. They, on paper, they're now a first pick for me. But what do you think of Cortez coming back?
I mean, he started off really well. I know it's a long time ago now, 18 months ago. He came
It was like a
in,
long time.
Yeah, looked very promising, and obviously got the injury, and he's never really managed to find an extended run of fitness again since. So it's a weird one. I don't think Martin seems to fancy him too much by the amount of game time he's got. I think Martin, when he came in, was told, "We've committed this money. You need to try and make it work." But if his heart's not in it, he's not going to see him as a starter. But hopefully, he can show something in training, and then the cameos he will get, they can see him become an option for us. I mean, Cammy's right. You're going to need 4, 5, maybe even 6 options across the 2 wings across a season. You've seen that with successful teams in the past. Gerard's team, you had how many options playing those 2 roles behind Morelos? You need guys that are going to, give you options and, commit 5, 10 goals across the park. But Cortez, I'm not sure. I hope I'm wrong, but I've just not seen enough since he came back from injury to suggest he's going to be anything more than a bit part player. I imagine him and Moore will both come in for the game against Alloa. Maybe if they can get their confidence up, get a couple of goals, we'll see if it goes from there.
Yeah, and Bob, on the kind of winger situation, if Cortez had to at least be a decent enough player to be an option week to week, is that enough? Have we got enough with Gassama, Ant-Man, Moore and Cortez in these positions, do you think?
I think so. I mean, unless as kind of Cammy touched on, we're more or less guaranteed the playoff round for the Champions League if we were to ultimately make it through to the group phase. Then obviously there'll be more money involved. They may look to go after Raksaki, which I know that we've been rumoured to be looking at. I think at the moment the 4 that we have brought in look decent enough over the course of the season. You're going to have rotation. Russell Martin's mentioned it pretty much in every press conference that everyone in the squad will be needed. Hence why he's running slightly high in terms of numbers. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at the first choice being probably Gassama and Ant-Man. Cortez and Moore will probably look to fill the gaps, either in the league games or in the cup games. I'm sure they'll be wanting to fight for the place. Cortez obviously has got a point to prove after the last 2 years have been out injured. I'm really surprised that he's maybe not made the impression that we all thought he was going to make initially. So I'm really hoping that he gets some game time. Just kind of as Jack and Cammy touched on, if he can get some minutes, if he maybe gets 70, 80 minutes against Alloa, hopefully can put on a good performance and force himself back into the manager's thoughts for the the games that we've got coming up, kind of thick and fast between the European games and obviously the games in the league, which obviously don't get any easier the longer into the season we go.
And there's a few comments there about Bayrami. Where do you think that leaves him? Do you think he has to kind of go?
For me personally, he could probably be looked at as maybe another alternative for the 10 role between himself, Dio, probably Moore, and Asgard when Asgard comes back. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's like. So again, there's a lot of hype around him coming in. Being the age that he is, again, it's tough. It does seem like Bayrami does have a role to play. He's only maybe getting the last kind of 10, 15 minutes in games at the moment. But again, it's up to him to go and force himself into the manager's plans. I think if it comes to it and they know that Asgard isn't going to be robust enough for the season, then you probably keep hold of Bayrami after the 1st of September. I think that's probably going to be the tough call that will probably run till the end of the transfer window anyway.
Cammy, we'll touch on the European game first out of the 2 games for this week. The manager said after the game that he doesn't drop players come in and out because it's such a big squad and everybody's rotated. But there's no getting away from the fact that looked like 4 players had been dropped on Wednesday night. Do you agree with that, or do you agree with the manager?
No, listen, Russell Martin speaks very well. He's a good speaker in these situations, and that's what you would. It's good politician speak, to be perfectly honest with you. But there had to be consequences for the comments that he made after the match, and from what I can gather, to the players, he didn't tell the players, the media, anything that he didn't tell the players to their face. So I think as a support, I think a lot of us were quite. It's going to be interesting to see him back up. Can he back up his comments? So I was 100% happy when those changes were made. They are dropped. Ultimately, all 4 players weren't playing. I think probably another couple could have been part of it, but I think they were the 4 changes that I think were most likely. It's up to them. He's said often enough, what's happened before doesn't matter. It's what you do now. Tav's been a great player for us across the years, being a captain, scored 120 goals. Nico was player of the year last season. That's past. It's what they do now, and it's positional discipline and all that sort of situation. There's so many. If you don't fit into the way that Russell Martin wants to play and you don't follow the instructions, then you're going to be out. And so it was a bold decision, but it was the right decision for me, and fully supportive. And I think the fact that we put in a positive performance and got a positive result, he was vindicated for that, to be honest.
Jack, that's sometimes the way it goes. Managers can make these decisions and it comes off, and sometimes it doesn't come off, and then they have to carry the can for that. But the fourth change is obviously Raskin comes out of the team. Tavernier, captain, as Cammy says, comes out of the team. Dowell comes out of the team. I think pretty much the entire fan base was behind that one.
Yep.
And Danilo comes out of the starting lineup as well for Dessers. Were you surprised, first of all, that there was 4 changes, and would you have wanted more?
I think the 4 changes.
Don't think of the result though. Yeah. Just think of before going into the game.
I think the 4 changes he made were the ones after Saturday that were most called for. Maybe not the Raskin one, but I think that's more coloured by what he's done previously as to what he did on Saturday. I think if you watch that game back with a level head, no, tinted glasses on, that's the 4 players that should have been pulled out. You can maybe make a case for Max Aarons coming out, but I think his issues have been because he's on the wrong side. So, I mean, you've seen how much better he looked when he was moved to right back. But, yeah, we needed that balance with players playing the right-hand side. So, Shefty coming in was the right call. Raskin clearly wasn't at his best. I don't think the new role suits him. I think you're going to have to make a choice between Nico or Rothwell for that holding position moving forward. I don't think you can shoehorn both in, which I don't see Nico want to play a rotation option, so that may see him leave in the next couple of weeks. But based on his performance on Saturday, it was time for him to move out the team. So no complaints there. Dowell, didn't even need to talk about him. He's a trier at times, but he's never really shown much quality in a Rangers jersey that would see him as a starter. I understand he's a good trainer, a good guy around the dressing room, but I would be a good guy around the dressing room. It doesn't mean I should be starting for Rangers. And Danilo, same. I think he's still working his way back to full fitness. And Cyril's come in for a couple of sub appearances and looked good. He's a goal scorer. And yeah, if you had to ask me who are the 4 players to drop out, they'd have probably been the 4 watching the game back I'd have picked. But it's a refreshing change to see a manager see what we are seeing and act on it, rather than Beeler Clermont would give it lip service and we'd be saying, right, they're going to change it, and then the following week it would be the exact same 11 out in the park again. Yeah.
Bob, when it comes to Raskin in particular, I do think he's been playing out of position. So is it fair to have blamed him for his performance the week before when he's not playing in the position? Because when he did come on Wednesday night, I thought he looked pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the game at the start of the week, when he came on for Rothwell in that position, that 6th position. So I think that was, in his opinion, probably his best position or his preferred position, which is probably why, he was relatively comfortable. I think the game at the weekend against Motherwell, he's again, Russell Martin touched on it before the Motherwell game, that he's asking Nico, and they've had obviously discussions on it in terms of what he wants him to do and not want to do. So it's maybe just been a wee bit of fallout from that Nico's been trying to do too much, and Russell Martin's trying to kind of have him strip his role back slightly, because again, under Beale and Clement, he was a bit more box to box. He was, the expectation was for him to kind of go on the ball maybe a lot more than what Russell Martin is looking for him to do at the moment. So valid to a point, Billy. I think I think the older members of the team, and I say that are the more experienced members of the team, are going to have to really, again, as we've touched on, buy into the way Russell Martin wants to play, the style of play that he's trying to implement. It's extremely clear to see. And as he's put it, if you don't buy in, you'll get left behind, and we'll find another solution for you, whether it's more than likely away from the club. So again, I'd like to see Nico probably vie for that position with Rothwell. Again, obviously Rothwell's come in as the new player, so he's likely going to be the kind of nailed on for that number 6 spot. But again, it's for Raskin to come in and show he's a better 6 than Rothwell and try and force him at the team, and that's what we've been looking for. I mean, not to hark on about it, but myself, you, Cammy, have had many Fridays when we've discussed not having enough depth. I think this is the start of it, to have that depth for actual quality players in a number of positions, fighting it out. That we know that every time the players go in the park, they know that the jersey isn't theirs to be, for 5, 6, 7 games. They have to produce it every single game, and hopefully this is the start of that. This is the kick up the backside. These 4 players in particular, have got to go. You need to put your ego to one side. You're going to play. If you don't play the way I want you to play, to the level that I expect you to play at, you're not going to play the next game. And if they don't want to be here and want to go and drift and do what they want, then that's fine. They can go and find themselves another club. But for me, again, you're trying to keep sentiment out of it and just go, what's the best for the team? And if they've not done it on the Saturday afternoon, that's why they never played Tuesday night. So hopefully they see the error of their ways in a way, and it kicks them on for the rest of the season, and we see that kind of vying for the position. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it kind of pans out, especially up until the end of the window at the end of August.
I keep saying Wednesday night. You're right. It was Tuesday night, Bob. Bob, I'm going to stay with you and just reverse back through you. We can give you first dibs on a question this time. I don't want to do a whole match review, but obviously it's important to talk about the game. 3-0 win. Where do you think that leaves us? Cammy just said a minute ago, 99% through. I'm nowhere near as confident as that, I've got to be honest. But where do you think this leaves us at half time?
I certainly think they weren't. I wouldn't say they were a bad team. Being there and watching them, they certainly didn't prove as much of a threat as I thought they were. But again, going to the Czech Republic next week will probably be the kind of acid test again of the team have went to Greece and come through that, luckily enough with a positive result. So truth be told, I can't see Victoria scoring 3 goals against us on Tuesday night, is it? I think is the return leg. We've been relatively solid at the back. I think that was no more so than Giga's block quite early on in the first half. I think that kind of set us up quite well. So yeah, for me, it was a decent enough game. I didn't feel they really were as I say, as much of a threat as I thought they were going to be. So I'm hopeful that being 3-0 up's kind of, if we can get an early goal on Tuesday night, put the tie to bed, and hopefully we can then kind of just see ourselves through to the playoff round against Salzburg or Club Brugge.
Yeah, Jack, and I'll come to you on the game. Are you as confident as Cammy with the 99%, or are you a bit more wary? Because they did look okay going forward. I feel like we also looked good every time we went forward. We looked like we could have scored. So there's a good chance that both of us score away from home, and that probably puts us through if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm probably similar to yourself, Billy. I think we'll score. I think we've got enough going forward. We'll at least score 1, and then it's a matter of them scoring at least 4. I don't, as fragile as we have been at times at the back, I don't see Jack Butland getting beat 4 times, especially with Giga in front of them. And if we continue with, the right fullbacks on the right side, I don't think there's any chance we'll concede 4, because I think we'll score at least 1. I'd probably agree with Cammy. I wouldn't quite go at 99%, maybe 90-95% sure we're through to the next round. But I've seen stranger things, but I'm hoping I don't see them on during the week.
Yeah, Cam, it would have to be a real big collapse for us to kind of go out now, but I'm just not 99% like Jack is saying there. But what position do you think, you obviously said 99%, and I'll keep quoting you on that, but the game itself, did you see anything in them that you thought they might take a few goals off us next week?
No, I thought Panathinaikos were a better side, to be perfectly honest with you, which is quite insane that the team you play in the second qualifier is better than the team in the third qualifier. But no, I thought we were good. I just think the outballs that we've got, the 2 wide players that I said at the start, I think going away from home, they're going to have to come out and attack us. If we can move the ball quickly in transition, get the ball wide, I think we will definitely score at least 1 across there, and we'll make it to the playoff round. I think Paul's pretty much echoed my thoughts there. I think we'll score away, the more spaces will appear, etc. I didn't want to say 100% because I don't want to be clipped, to be perfectly honest with you, and all that sort of stuff. I don't see us not making the playoff round, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just about being professional, going across there and doing the job, sort of thing. But I didn't think they were great. I thought we nullified them, but I was more concerned against Panathinaikos than I was against Pilsen. So getting through against Panathinaikos, it took a pressure off us. I think these ties are effectively a free hit because you're guaranteed Europa League phase. If we can make the Champions League, brilliant, great income, all that sort of stuff. But you know that you've got the Europa League. So these four games that we've got, hopefully, give us that opportunity. And I think the manager said we're going to go full tilt to try and make the Champions League. And on the back of Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it was, I thought we started off well. So finish it off midweek, and then we can move forward from there.
Jack, if we do go through, we'll probably going to be playing Club Brugge again. They won away from home against Salzburg the other night. They 1-0. Obviously, it's a friendly that we played them 2-2. They looked dangerous on the break as well. Obviously, we didn't have the defence that we've got now. What's your take if it was them on the next round? You prefer them over Salzburg, or would you prefer it the other way around?
I mean, probably better the enemy, I'm sure we'll have had some scouting done on them already for the friendly. If we can bring some of that stuff, some of what we learned from the friendly into the next round, that's all the better. It's a shorter trip as well. I'm sure you guys have seen the other lot look like they're going to be heading over to the far reach Kazakhstan. So the shorter the journey we've got ahead of the Old Firm game, the better. I think we'll know a lot more about the Belgians. We played them, obviously, Leon King and Robin Proper at centre back. You'd imagine with Suter, Giga, and any potential new signings in there, will be a lot stronger at the back. While they did look dangerous, they also looked a bit nervy when we attacked as well. You've seen that also in the second half, with us getting a few attempts, a few goals. I think it would be a very tight game, but I'd rather a tight game than one where we're going in as massive underdogs. Bruges are a decent team, but I by no means do I think they're unbeatable. I think that would give us a real chance of getting into this league phase. And it's not the same as it was last time in Champions League, where you're going in and you're expecting a beating. You could get a few decent draws in there. I think we would be second or third tier as well, which would give us 2 fourth-tier teams, which could see a few wins, a few more finances. And if we do get into the league phase, there's still a few days left of the transfer window to maybe get a few extra bodies in with the money, of course.
Bob, that is the big difference, isn't it? It's pretty much gone, unless you get quite far into Europa League, you're really doubling the money just by qualifying for the Champions League. So I would say that puts us a wee bit ahead of schedule from where I maybe expected us to be if we to make the Champions League. I don't expect us to make it currently, but that's because I'm that kind of fear away. We're going to get beat away from home next week and get put out. But Yeah, the Champions League for you, it's as I say, more money. What do you make of Club Brugge though? Did you see anything in the friendly that makes you kind of fear them?
No, I mean, I only caught the highlights, Billy. To be honest, I was away on holiday when we played them at Ibrox, or else I would have been there. But again, just as kind of Jack touched on, we'll have the kind of background. I think I'm sure folk in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong. I think Club Brugge have literally just sold one of their central midfield players to AC Milan. So again, they'll be slightly weakened by the time we come and hopefully play them in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully they can't reinvest the money from AC Milan that quickly, but we shall see. But yeah, obviously a different proposition to the friendly. Again, probably showed, even with the number of changes that we've had in the team since that game, we'll be in a far stronger position, a far more experienced team, if I can say that, even if it's only after 4 or 5 weeks. But I certainly think they can cause us problems. I would still be somewhat confident that we could get over, get into the league phase over two ties. Again, just need to keep it tight at home, and hopefully we, keep it tight. Make 1 or 2 goals in it. Hopefully it doesn't end up in a high scoring game. But yeah, as you say, Billy, the league phase, I think, we all know how disastrous our last Champions League campaign was. I think we went to right a few wrongs. I would suspect so, especially again for the members of the team that are still there from that campaign. To try and right some wrongs and as Jack said, hopefully pick up some points, just because of the nature of the change within the Champions League. We should hopefully be able to pick up some positive results this time round, if we obviously make it through to the league phase. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's certainly something that I feel slightly more optimistic about, having seen the way we've played in the qualifiers up till now.
Cam, I'll come back to yourself. Kind of final thoughts on that, the game midweek. Basically, so we can put that kind of to bed just now. But I'm thinking of the stand. We've talked about Ant-Man, but I'm thinking of other kind of standout players from that game. And I'm not really one for hyperbole, but I do think that Lyle Cameron's the best signing we've ever made in the last 150 years. What do you think?
I always think it's great when you're sitting at a match and there's 5 or 6 candidates for man of the match. I think Cameron, Jiga, the 2 wide boys. I thought Big Cyril had a really good game. Lyle Cameron, for me, the manager has said he followed every instruction, and it's almost he done what Nico didn't do without actually saying that. And this isn't it, but that is what he wants. If he puts you out on the pitch, Lyle Cameron, the run off the ball for the first goal, all that gets spoken about is Gassama, Dessers, but you watch it back, the run off the ball to create the space. He's a very energetic player. He does look smaller than he did when he played for Dundee. I don't know if it's quite weird. He does look tiny, but very energetic, different type of player that gets about the pitch. What was the comment about the Dundee De Bruyne or something like that? I think to come into a game like that, European debut, and play so well, so confidently, and I think watching the game back, the commentary, I don't know if it was Stevie Thompson or Lovenkrands or somebody, Andy Halliday it was actually, they spoke about the triangle, Jeffy, Cameron and Gassama, and how well they linked. And I think that's sometimes the thing. We may look at our squad as it stands just now, Billy, and say that the best players in the middle of the park are Diomande, Raskin and Rothwell, but doesn't it always equate to the best players making the best fit? So I think Rothwell is Russell Martin's signing. He's going to be the number 6. I think Asgard, when he's fit, will be earmarked for the left-hand side number 8 position. but everybody's fighting for a place, and that's what you want. Lyle Cameron has went in, he's grabbed the jersey off Nico Raskin in the game during the week. It's his jersey now. So if Nico gets an opportunity to grab Joe Rothwell's jersey, the same situation, you're not going to. It's not your jersey. It's your jersey to keep, and it's your jersey to lose. But I thought, I saw Russell Martin's son. I've seen that on Twitter. It's such a funny alternative commentary. But I thought Rothwell was really good for the hour. I thought he controlled the play really, really well. I think he is the most suited player that we have to play that position. I know a lot of people love Nico. I equally love Nico, but I still don't know if he's a 6, and I still don't know if he's the type of 8 that we're looking for. But Lyle Cameron, every credit. And as I've said to you before, Billy, my wee boy loves Lyle Cameron because he wears the same squad number, 16. So he's buzzing that there's a Cameron 16 playing for Rangers. But the wee guy played really, really well, and hopefully it's a start of a long career for him at Rangers.
I never said it was nice to meet Callum as well, so that was glad you brought him along. Jack, did you? I don't know if you've seen the kind of interview with Lyle Cameron this week, where he mentioned getting up to speed with the training at Rangers, but now that he's done that, he feels he's ready to participate a lot more. What did you make of the interview?
Yeah,
Seemed to cause a lot of blood to boil up in Dundee.
Yeah, I've seen the fall. It reminded me a bit of, if you remember the Lennon Miller one where he said about being the best player for Scotland. The papers have taken something which is clearly he's not meant it that way and took it that way. He said, I feel like a full-time footballer now. And you know what he means. You know he feels like a proper footballer now. It's 24/7, not just, you got your training, you got your game on the Saturday, like it would be at Dundee, and then you're free to kind of roam about for the rest of the week, live your life. You won't have that anymore. You know what Glasgow's like, playing for Rangers. You're not going to get a second where there's no somebody talking to you about the club, what's going on, the way you're playing, etc., etc. But based off his interview, he seems ready for it. He seems to have a good head on his shoulders. Doesn't seem like a boy that's going to kind of let it go to his head. And yeah, I set up, obviously Cameron mentioned, I set up the club deck as well. I kept getting Ant-Man and Cameron confused just from looking down on them.
Me too, yeah.
Just looking down on them. But no matter which one it was, the two of them played brilliantly. I was really, really impressed with Lyle. I wasn't expecting too much from him. It's been maybe a bit part player, but if he can come in and make contributions like that every week, then yeah, we'll have a great player in our hands. On what he said, I think he spoke well. I think obviously it's been taken a bit out of context, but if Dundee fans are raging, well, I'm not really bothered. They're a club that can't even operate an email account properly, so that's what it is.
Bob, there's a comment there. If the money comes in for Raskin, an offer comes in, do you take it?
I think it would be difficult not to. I think, again, from the way the new ownership is working, they'll want to be as, say, profitable. Just as Cammy touched on, it's a business at the end of the day. If we can, make a significant profit on Nico Raskin in this window, they're going to take it. There's no room for sentimentality. They as much as we all think he's a great player, or he has the potential to be a great player, from what he's shown over the last kind of 6 months, at the end of last season. I think you take that into context, like we've discussed before. That's a good 6 months, or good 3-4 months out of the last kind of 2.5 years. So if he's on form and he's hitting the peak of his value, I certainly wouldn't be against seeing him out the door. Again, it looks as if we're making prudent and quality signings, from who we've been linked with and who we've obviously brought in the door over this summer. So I would certainly not be against similar type players getting brought in to further improve the squad as a whole, and not just the midfield. But yeah, I mean, I think he's, as we've touched on, Billy, he's a really good player. If he could really, as Cammy touched on, as Jack's touched on, if he could make the position he's on as number 6 and potentially force Russell Martin's son out the out the team, even for a short period of time. It's only going to be a good thing for us as a team moving forward. On the on the pitch, obviously off the pitch, if it increases his value further, considering he's obviously made his way into the Belgium team, that may be something that he'll be thinking about. Is if he loses his place and isn't a regular starter, he may think he has to move to retain his place for Belgium in the upcoming Euros and World Cup qualifiers. So yeah, I wouldn't be against seeing him out the door if it was a I wouldn't say a bad bid. If it was maybe 10 to 15 million. I'm sure folk can debate that in the comment section how much you think he's worth. But if we got that off him, considering we paid again a couple of million for him a couple of years back, it's a good profit for us.
Cammy, if I can come back to you on the contract situation when it comes to Nico Raskin, if he doesn't commit himself, is this the summer you sign it? You do sell him?
100%. I've been consistent with that since the back end of last season. His stocks is at the highest it's going to be. 2 years to the end of his contract, under 25. That's what the clubs look for when they're buying players, to try to allow them to potentially have a sell on as well. Listen, I'd love Nico to stay, but if he doesn't sign an extension and then we sell him in January, you're not getting the same fee in January that you would get now, and that's the situation. Love Nico, I can totally understand, but we are now a business, and I don't think that on early performances and the way that Russell Martin wants to play, I don't see Nico Raskin being a first pick. He's got that Belgian number 6 position. Joe Rothwell is the pick of the manager, in my opinion, and that if he's fit, he's going to play. But Nico, for me, if he wants to extend his contract, great. If the manager said about Dessers being the only player that there's been a bid, there's obviously a lot goes on behind the scenes that you're not aware about. You just don't know what conversations have happened. Has an offer been put to Nico and his representative? But I understand that comment. Can he sell Weir Raskin? But when, as a football club and a business, are we going to learn? We've had our fingers burned too many times across the years by not selling players at the right time. The comment there, Rothwell can't play 60 games. Yeah, that he won't be asked to play 60 games, but he will play 8 games out of 10. Is Nico going to be prepared to stay and play 2 games out of 10? That's the, it's not a case of he's better than him sort of situation. It's what a player thinks. Are they prepared to just be a squad player? So for me, we've got 3 weeks until the window closes. I still will be surprised if Nico Raskin is a Rangers player come the start of September. I still think he'll go.
Jack, it is purely just internet rumours, but apparently he has been given an offer of a contract that his representative have anyway. But he does, what worries me is he does have a wee bit of previous for kind of going on strike, doesn't he, to a degree?
Yeah, Nico, I think if he was desperate to go, we'd have heard all about it. You know what players are like these days. He'd have forced Rangers' hand. It's all player power these days. I think if he was desperate to go, he would have. I agree with Cammy. I said at the start of the summer, either we extend and on an agreement, you go to the World Cup, you play well, we shake hands next summer and get a big fee. But if he doesn't extend, he needs to go now, before the end of the window. Nico may want to wait till January, see how the lay of the land is with Rothwell, but I don't think we can afford him that time. But again, the money needs to be right. This is a guy who was a player of the year last year. He was excellent. He was dominating games against Celtic. He was playing well in Europe. We can't let him go for any less than evaluation, and we've seen that with some other transfers out of the club. We're sticking to our valuations, and if a club wants one of our players, they've got to meet it. I don't think we're in the same situation we were a year ago, where if we let someone's contract get closer and don't get the money for them, we're in trouble. But I still think the guys running the club now are businessmen. Are going to want as much money coming in as possible. I'm really torn on it. You can probably tell from the way I'm rambling on. I love Nico. I think he was brilliant last year. I've liked him ever since he came in, even when he had his dips in form. But I just, the last 3 games, Panathinaikos and Motherwell, just didn't look the same sort of player. And I'm wondering if maybe it probably is the time to let him go.
Bob, we do have a game tomorrow. It's a bit of a strange kick-off. Obviously, new for TV. I think we're going to have to get used to stuff like that with the, is it Premier Sports contract, whatever. Looking forward to the game, though. It's tinged with the draw last week because it was such a taking the wind out the sails type of result for us last week. Obviously, we get a bit of a boost with how well we played on Wednesday night. We're going to need to carry that into the Dundee game, though, aren't we?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, as they touched on after, the gaffer's post-match comments on Tuesday night was saying, all the focus now turns to Saturday, and I think they'll have a point to prove whether he goes with a similar team. I certainly think that the likelihood is that Tab will come back in if Aaron's is suffering from a dead leg towards the end of the game on Tuesday. So it'll be interesting to see who he brings back into the team. I think just as the guys have touched on, I think Lyle Cameron was really impressive on Tuesday night. I really thought he showed some dynamism. I think it's something that we've lacked. As much as I think Nico's a really good player, I think there's just a different dynamic with Lyle Cameron. Just off that one game that I've seen live, I also just want to kind of take a minute to point out Jeffy as well. It looked as if when Jeffy played the pass for Gassama for the goal, just as Cammy touched on, as soon as we scored, Russell Martin was in his ear telling me that he was doing a good job. He'd give him the thumbs up, and he was just like, that's what I want you to do. And I think this is the point of what we've been talking about is, Jeffy's probably thought of as a bit of an erratic player over the last year. If he knuckles down and gets coached the way that Russell Martin wants to coach, you can certainly see him improving and becoming a mainstay to have that balance on the left hand side. And as we've said already in the pod, he linked well with Gassama and Cameron on that side for that first goal. So I'd like to see him, again, maybe get a run in the team. I know the likelihood is that we'll probably bring in another left back, but I just wanted to point out that I thought Jeffy played really well, was really disciplined on Tuesday night. I think that's something that we have to get used to seeing. I think I know there's been a lot of comments about how Aaron's doesn't look that great, but I think the way that Martin wants to play, he's playing as well as he can, both on the right for Aaron's and for the left for Jeffy. I thought they were really disciplined and kind of kept to the role that I think Russell Martin was looking for them to implement on Tuesday night. But yeah, sorry for Saturday's game. For tomorrow's game, I think it'll be a tough one. I think again, obviously the comments from Cameron are going to probably add a bit of extra spice for the game tomorrow. But I certainly think we'll be fired up, especially with the result during the week, and hopefully we can see a positive result into the early evening into Saturday night.
Cammy, if we do take the manager from his word and players aren't dropped, then I do expect to see some changes because he's going to bring people in and out. Any changes you think need made?
I think personally, if everybody's fit and available, I go with the same starting 11. To be perfectly honest with you, I think you've got the opportunity midweek and then the next weekend you've got the cup tie, so there's opportunity to make changes across those two games. So Saturday I would be going with the same 11 if everybody's fit and available. That would be my preference. We want to bounce back from the disappointment of the late goal at Motherwell last week, and Stephen Presley's under a bit of pressure at Dundee, so hopefully we can score a few goals and apply further pressure. I made a comment that I expected him to be gone by Christmas, and the way that Dundee have started the season, I think he'll do well to see Halloween, to be perfectly honest with you. So fingers crossed we can keep the feel good factor, score a few goals, and put another nail in his P45 basically.
Jack, before we finish up, we have been linked with Noble Mendy from Real Betis. He was due to go to PSV, I believe, and then that's fallen through because of different restrictions on work permits and stuff like that. Reports this morning, though, look like we're not going to be his destination after all. Did you know anything about him, and is this a disappointment to learn that he's probably going to go somewhere else?
Just what I've seen online, he didn't play much for the Betis first team, but obviously series linked with PSV, he must have something about him. You've seen obviously the stats online, everything about him, big boy, Leicester defender, looked to fit the profile what we've been looking at. I did say myself earlier that I would like someone more experienced coming in on the left-hand side. I feel we've got Giga on loan, Fernandez are all both younger guys. Suter's obviously right-hand sided as well. I would like, if we're bringing in that left-handed centre-back starter, it to be someone more experienced. I know we were looking at Connor Cody. If we can get someone similar to that, I would be more happier with that than I would be with another young guy coming in as good as it is to develop them on.
Fair dues. Well, look, we'll need to kind of finish up there. Cammy, any other news I've not picked up on?
No, I think the only thing that I think I'd sort of touched on was the fact that if we make the playoff round, that the St Mirren away match, if the St Mirren away match happens, it'll be Sunday the 24th, but Rangers have applied for the postponement of that. So it was just the guys' thoughts, whether they thought that was the right decision to make, because obviously it then, I can see both sides of the argument, to be honest with you. It's the midweek in between the two playoff round first and second leg, so we're obviously wanting the break to prepare between, but there's also the fact that the other side of the city are going to play their home game, probably get another 3 points on the board. You know, I just wondered what the guys' thoughts were with regard to that. I personally would rather play the game, because I just think this Rangers team at this moment in time needs to play games to build understanding.
I'll come to you, Bob. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a strange one. I know it maybe helps us out long term, but again, as Cammy touched on, I think this early on in the season we shouldn't be that tired or tired getting into games. I think the more games we get under the belt, the quicker an understanding is built up between the majority of players. I know that we've touched on players can come in and out of the team, but the understanding needs to be built up, especially the style of play that we're trying to implement. So I'd definitely like to see the games getting played rather than getting postponed, because again that then leads to potentially fixture pile up and we're having to play 5 games in 7 days, whatever, which we really struggle to do in the best of times. So if we can try and get the games played when they're meant to be played earlier in the season, hopefully it works out better for us in the long run.
I know it's not what this provision is, but for me, postponing games is for the end of the season when you're in later rounds of things. That's I tend to think is the more beneficial way of it. Yeah, I think at the moment we need more games. I do need to finish up, guys. I've got another interview to do after this. So I'll just say, Cammy, thank you very much for coming on again. I'm at the game tomorrow. If you're kicking around, feel free to bump into me again.
No problem. Pleasure as always. Thank you.
Okay, and Jack, thanks for coming on, mate. Again, if you're at the game, feel free to bump into me.
I'll probably be there right on kick-off tomorrow, mate, but I will catch up with you at some point this season.
And Bob, mate, thanks for coming on. I didn't know you were on the day, but it's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I'm glad to be back. Hopefully I can make a few more Fridays from now on. Good
stuff. Well, I just want to mention our match sponsor, our pod sponsor, off to the matchigo.co.uk. If you head over there and see any of the merch, stick it in your shopping basket and use the code Journal10 to get 10% off. And I'm sure if you do go over there, off to the matchigo.co.uk, you will find something for yourself or a gift. So use the code Journal10 to get that. Well, we'll look forward to the game tomorrow. We will have a pre and post match, obviously, for that. And hopefully we see another good performance. So thank you very much for watching. And every night is the Rangers Journal night. Good night.